Hello, Charles Van Morgan, live on the scene. Breaking news, Charles Van Morgan, live on the scene at UT Medical Center of the motorcade collision involving the Vice President. He wasn't hit, but two officers were collided in a collision. So we're live on the scene, reporting here at UT Hospital. Charles Van Morgan, Unbridled News, live on the scene at UT Hospital here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So we are reporting about the crash that occurred yesterday evening, and the Maryville police officer is in critical condition. That means he has to have attention from medical professionals because he has his vital signs are not stable, so they have to pay constant attention to keep him alive. So he's in critical condition. So yesterday at about 8:43 p.m., a motorcade protecting Vice President J.D. Vance was in Maryville, Tennessee. J.D. Vance was here apparently to go to a fundraiser at Blackberry Farms in Wallen, Tennessee. And the news media says, look, here's the story. J.D. Vance is going to a fundraiser, and there was a crash happen as a result of his going to a fundraiser. That's what they're saying, look. But I'm Charles Van Morgan, Unbridled News. That's the story they're saying. I'm going to say, look at the facts. So at the end of this video, we'll tell you about the facts, what we know, and what you should really be looking at, what we know. There's nothing unusual for a vice president to be going to a fundraiser and having a motorcade. He has to have a motorcade. There are people in foreign countries that would like to take him down. But he was in Tennessee and not in Maryville yesterday at the Knoxville airport. He landed on Air Force 2 and went to a fundraiser at Blackberry Farms in Wallen, Tennessee. And on his way back at apparently 8:43 p.m. with the motorcade involved, and the motorcade involved Tennessee Highway Patrol, the illustrious Tennessee Highway Patrol, and the Maryville Police Department on a motorcycle, and the THP officer in a patrol car and the Maryville police officer on a motorcycle collided. They slammed into each other, had a wreck. They don't call it an accident anymore, they call it a wreck. Somebody's at fault. That happened about 8:43 p.m. at the intersection of East Lamar Alexander and Merritt Road. So it's just a few miles from here, right off this road over here in Maryville, Tennessee. A collision between two officers happened. We know that as a fact. Now, as J.D. Vance was coming back from Blackberry Farms to a fundraiser. That's no big deal. The news media wants to point to that. They're saying, look at the fundraiser. Crash happened. I'll tell you what to look at. And it ain't something that is meaningless. We'll look at the facts. Unbridled News, Charles Van Morgan. So, and we'll tell you the end. Hang on, we'll tell you what this is about and what they're trying to tell you it's about. We're here live on the scene, Knoxville, Tennessee, America. Listen to the truth, Unbridled News, Charles Van Morgan. And so the wreck happened right here. The wreck happened right here, just a few short, maybe a mile or two from the McGee-Tyson Airport on Lamar Alexander, East Lamar Alexander at Minot Road. And a patrol car, a Tennessee patrol car, state trooper car, collided into a motorcycle. Maryville police officer on a motorcycle. So we have a collision, and they were on the, it is confirmed by the Maryville police chief that they were involved in the motorcade. Chief of Police Tony Chris, and he asked for, his public comment was asked for you to pray for the officer that's in critical condition here at UT Hospital, and also the family of the officer, and he thanks the community for their support. That's his official statement, and he confirmed that they were involved in the motorcade that was transporting Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance. So we have a astonishing event The news says it's that J.D. Vance was at a fundraiser. Wow, that's not astonishing. It happens all the time. Vice President Kamala Harris did that. That's part of the program. They need money. That's no big deal. There's so many people we have in here. Make sure we're recording. So hang on, America. We'll tell you the truth about what's going on. And tell you the truth and the facts about this. So like, share, comment, and we'll tell you what to look at. And I won't sidetrack you. I'll tell you to look at the facts, not the facade that the news media is trying to say. So we know there's no names given out of the officers, which is par for the course. And THP is conducting the investigation. Ding, 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 alarming. Basic logic. When you ask somebody a question and you know the answer, and they don't know you know the answer, and I'll tell you the answer, and you know, as far as I know it right now, I won't lie to you, I'm unbridled, truthful news, and you know the person tells you something that's false, not one time, not two times, three times, numerous times, then you know you can't trust them. Then you know they're liars. So THP is conducting the investigation. That's alarming. Excuse me, a lot of dust. Let me get something to drink. So Charles Van Morgan live on the scene. UT Hospital in Knoxville. Welcome, America. Welcome, United States. I'm going to tell you some inside information you won't hear from anywhere else. I'm Charles Van Morgan. I used to be a former Tennessee State Trooper. I'm not now, but you can see the THP. So a lot of dust out here. So no name given out. In my case, when I was on the THP, involved in a wreck that wasn't my fault, I wasn't even involved in the pursuit, they put my name out immediately to try to disparage me. Notice, in this case, no names given out. And THP is conducting the investigation. So, THP has biased investigations. So, America, remember from Charles Van Morgan, an honest person reporting the news live, two officers crashing at each other on the motorcade involving J.D. Vance. He needs to be protected. He needs to be protected. He's the Vice President of the United States. A lot of countries would like to take him out. So we have to have protection, and two officers we know crashed into each other while protecting him, apparently, in the motorcade. America, THP is the leading investigator. Tell all these news channels, CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC, THP is the lead investigator. THP's investigations are biased. When I was in a wreck, this stuff I've seen firsthand. I don't have to listen to a news reporter tell me this. I've seen it. I'm a news reporter. I've seen it firsthand. THP was involved in the investigation of my wreck, and they're the lead investigator in this wreck involving J.D. Vance, America. They sent Major Stacey Heatherly out to a wreck over a year later after it happened, and I wasn't involved in the wreck. I was in pursuit of somebody, to set up a scene, to set up an experiment. And her experiment was she parked a car and then drove by and seen the car that she parked there, shut down the road and drove by with other people around and seen the car that she parked there. So I should have seen a car that she's seen because she knew it was there and I didn't know it was there. That's their investigation. So THP's investigations are rogue sometimes. So that's just one issue with THP investigating. We know THP investigating wrecks involving our president, vice president, maybe president is a rogue investigative unit. America should know. So John Pettigo had a wreck in Maryville, same place, 411, not the exact same place, 411 on the highway. 2 people were killed. John Pettigo committed acts of misconduct, violated state law in that wreck, and he investigated his own wreck. Wow, and then they covered up the death of a 16-year-old. So that's a THP investigation. Look it up. John Pettigo investigated his own wreck where he failed to turn on emergency equipment and didn't follow state law, and a 16-year-old was killed. So America, THP is investigating a wreck involving your Vice President of the United States that's biased. National news won't tell you that. Charles Van Morgan live on the scene. I'm telling you that. THP's the lead investigator. Don't listen to what they say. I'm not saying for sure you'll have a biased investigation. I'm saying that look at the facts. Don't listen to what they're telling you, because they will lie to you. THP will lie to you about this investigation that involved the Vice President of the United States. It's kind of important. So, also, Joe Walker lied in a police report involving a wreck. So these people will lie and forge evidence. And he lied about something that's very easy to figure out. So when they write the narrative of the report, don't listen to what their trooper narrative says. Listen to what the witnesses say and say, does that line up with what's in the report? It may or may not. I don't know. I'm just telling you, THP's investigations are false. Joe Walker lied in a police report. John Pettigo lied in a police report. Stacey Heavily, now major, promoted for lying. If you lie to promote their agenda, their falsehood, they will promote you. You won't get disciplined for lying, you get promoted, because you're not lying for yourself. Sometimes you're lying to promote their narrative that they want to tell you. The problem that they run into with their narrative, there's some facts that go against what they're trying to tell you. So what we know is J.D. Vance was on his way back to the airport to get on Air Force 2 from Blackberry Farms for a fundraising event. And the news media is saying, look, fundraising event, that is nothing. They're trying to make you be distracted. A THP officer and a Maryville police officer in the motorcade on a motorcycle collided. Both of them collided together. Now, the news media is trying to say, and they've already put out this suggestion of mechanical error. Nobody's at fault. Now these are the facts. They're saying J.D. Vance is at a fundraising event. Big deal. Big deal. They got to have money. They got to get reelected. Kamala Harris did that. That's a distraction. The issue is what we know. 2 officers trained to protect, evidently, supposedly, or they shouldn't have been out there, collided with each other. Mechanical error, off the bat, mechanical error. That way nobody's at fault. Maryville's not at fault, we're not at fault. If you have a wreck with somebody, they immediately come to the scene and say, mechanical error, you're not at fault. Or they try to say, I smell alcohol in your breath, or such is the case. So we already know they're laying the foundation for lies. Now, I'm Charles Van Morgan, truth teller, honest, educated, unbiased. I've been to, and I'm going to tell you what some of the problems are with this, why this took place, why J.D. Vance is not safe in the state of Tennessee. Because of the things I'm going to tell you. The news media, look, J.D. Vance had a fundraising. That's not even a good distraction. I'm saying, look, 2 police officers supposed to protect, couldn't even protect themselves, and I'll explain to you why, what the real issues are. So I've been to 3 academies, went to 3 state academy, law enforcement training academies, and traffic crash schools, 3 of them. Yeah, forgot to turn off I forgot to void my cell phone thing. Apologize, but I've been to 3 academies. I've been to one specialized school in Maryville in 1992, a specialized school in crash investigations. So I know about crash investigations. Went to 3 in academies where I learned about crashes. Went to one specialized school in Johnson City, Tennessee. So I know just a little bit about crash investigations. I know a lot about crash investigations. I know a heck of a lot about crash investigations. So you can listen to, I know it's not mechanical error. So I went to a basic at scene traffic crash, a specialized school, advanced school in traffic crashes in basic at scene traffic crash investigation, City of Johnson City, Police Department, Public Safety in the May the 5th, 1993 to May the 28th, 1993. So 2 weeks off the job, studying in class, passing tests. A lot of officers couldn't even pass that test, failed out of it. So to an advanced level traffic crash school. So I know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm not just a dumb reporter out here spitting out falsehoods. And I'm telling you about THP. They're the lead investigators over this incident. That's a big part of the story, is that THP's investigating this, not that JD Vance was here in Tennessee going to a fundraiser. He's going to do that. I don't know if he'll do it again. He may not be safe here. So I know the head over THP. So I'm not saying that they're unbiased, that they're not biased, that they won't conduct a fair investigation. I know the colonel. I know Matt Perry. Went to the academy with Matt Perry. Went to the second one. I'm a little older than him. Actually, it was the third one I went to. So I know Matt Perry. He went to the academy class 404. I met him. He's the one over THP. He will not give you a fair investigation. He won't do it. He may, but he'll fit their narrative. I'm not saying if what happened doesn't fit what they want you to believe, their political narrative, then he'll lie to you. So America, live on the scene, Charles Van Morgan reporting the news. I met Matt Perry, the colonel of the Highway Patrol. He won't necessarily tell you the truth. I've got more training than he has. Went to the academy with him. I went to a specialized training with him. That was an advanced level speaking school. And I also have a education from the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. So I know what I'm talking about. And I used to work for the Tennessee Highway Patrol. And I know how they'll lie. Here's an example of a judge lie in Tennessee. So they won't necessarily handle this case adequately. So the story is not JD Vance going to a fundraiser. It is also this. It also went to a training class when I was at the University of Tennessee Police Department, put out by the Secret Service, and was on active duty as a police officer and guarded Vice President Al Gore. So I have executive protection training. I protected Al Gore when he came to the University of Tennessee. So I know exactly what I'm talking about. And a lot of news reporters don't. I have a criminology degree and education in that, and I know how the government will cover things up. So the real story is 2 officers were involved in a crash guarding the Vice President of the United States. It's not mechanical error, I don't believe. They'll have to show it in black and white and it be not rigged later. I don't believe that. So they're trying to say nobody's at fault. Now I know that's what they always come up with. They come up with that because Mike Turley, he's a sergeant now, was involved in a wreck on Johnsonville Highway where we went after a speeder, lost control of his vehicle. It was driver error. On a curve, went up a hill and hit a tree. And he went to the University of Tennessee. Fortunately, he was fine. I don't worry about his safety. I worry about his honesty. He's not a very honest man. But Sergeant Kim Ogle, or Lieutenant Ogle at the time, came to the scene, and I personally witnessed when I was in a trooper uniform, personally witnessed this. I was there on the scene. She was interviewed by the news. She's retired now. Now she wants her brother to be sheriff over Sevier County. She came to the scene, personally interviewed with the scene. The first words that come out of her mouth, because Mike Turley's a friend of hers, she got him promoted to sergeant. And the first words that come out of her mouth is that it could be mechanical error. They want to throw that out there when one of them is involved in a crash that they want to take care of, that nobody's at fault, something happened to the vehicle. So nobody's at fault. So they've already threw that out there, that it's mechanical error. I am telling you, it is not mechanical error, most likely. Two officers involved in a crash, no citizen hit them, they hit each other. That's the story. They can't even protect themselves in the state of Tennessee. That's the story. J.D. Vance, come back to Tennessee at your own risk. America, come to Tennessee at your own risk. Officers slamming into each other. That's the story. The fundraising thing is a distraction. They've already brought that out in the news. They do that all the time when they want to cover for their own people. Mechanical error, mechanical error. So there's a Maryville police officer in the hospital right now, serious condition. I pray for him. It wasn't mechanical error. Somebody messed up somewhere. Somebody did something wrong, malfeasance, or actively doing something wrong, negligence. So I met Colonel Matt Perry, been to several training classes with him. Was protected by his daddy. He's only the colonel because of politics, because one of his relatives is a former Supreme Court justice. And my assessment, based on my traffic crash investigations, based on working for the Highway Patrol for years and years, based on being in law enforcement all my life, my assessment of the facts is you have two policemen run into each other guarding the president and executive protection. That it's due to inexperience. I wonder the age of these officers, or the age of the one that is at fault, and we don't know. They're not putting out the names. Inexperience. I believe that THP, the Tennessee Highway Patrol, under Colonel Matt Perry, under the governor, fires older officers like me that are getting ready to retire in order to fund to keep the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System solvent. That's the story. In order to keep the Tennessee Consolidated, and bear with me, stay with me, this is important. In order to keep the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System solvent, they fire troopers that have a lot of experience before they get their full benefits, before they can retire at full benefits, to save money in the Tennessee State Consolidated Retirement. Because they promote people that are politically connected to captain's positions. They leave a captain's position open. They leave a lieutenant's position open, depending on how good a politics you have or how well you've helped the governor win. Then when you're getting ready to retire, you served as sergeant for years and years, and you're getting ready to retire, and you're one of their good old boys. This is the story right here. It's not about J.D. Vance coming to a fundraiser. It's about illegal, unethical, dangerous material to you and activities to you and the public. This is one of the stories. So they leave that position open. If you're one of the good old boys, they move you all the way up to captain. Now, you're not going to stay in that captain's position. They need that captain's position open. So they move you up to the captain's position. You're locked in at captain's pay when you retire. So when you're about ready to retire, all the way up to captain, you retire you serve in that position not very long, and then you retire, and then they leave that positions open for the next person to come in. That captain, you lock into your retirement. You retire. They leave that position open. They leave a position open and/or positions in order to fund their good old boys. Yeah, you're good in with us. You'll lie for us. You'll bias investigations. You'll do what we want you to do. You'll spin a false narrative. This is the story, America. And you got J.D. Vance coming here and unprotected. I'm going to tell you why that matters. So he comes here, and you take your good old boys, leave that seat open. They retire to high position. And the system would be insolvent if they continued to be able to do that, because you have all these people that are their cronies retiring at high level positions. So the system would be insolvent. Wouldn't be enough money in the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System if they kept doing that. So in order to keep it solvent, in order to keep it funded, they have to get rid of troopers that are older, that haven't retired yet, that are about to retire in a few years. And if they retire in a few years, they get their full amount of money. There's only so much money in the pie. and they're deserving of their part of the pie. So what they do is, these troopers that aren't part of the clique of the elite establishment that have gotten their job like me through not who you know to a degree, they hired me because I have a Master of Arts in Criminology. Then they fire you early so that you don't get your full retirement. So your full retirement is money saved there. So instead of giving it to you and letting you retire like you deserve with medical benefits, they take that money that's there and give it to their good old boy in that position that they've got open for them. So they're getting rid, and this is why it's important to America and you, they're getting rid of experience, of people that won't slam into their own officers, of people that won't slam into each other, because they got to replace you. So they replace you with a new younger trooper, get them in, they're hiring by the truckloads. Get them in, and if they're not part of the good old system, they'll fire them early too. So they're getting all these younger troopers in, and they're getting rid of all their experience. When you get rid of troopers that are in their 40s that have worked all their life in the highway patrol and law enforcement, you have troopers and officers that know not how to, the simple thing, not slam into my fellow officer. I mean, my goodness, don't hit your other officer. So in training, do they not train people basic one-on-one? I've been to Secret Service dignitary protection. I've been to 3 academies where they taught me how to drive emergency vehicles and do dignitary protection. I mean, do not slam into your fellow officer. Is that not just basic? I mean, do we have to tell you that? So what we have here is a failure to communicate. Not us, them. They can't communicate. And they certainly don't like me pointing out this. So they're dangerous to themselves. I've been saying this. Watch my channel. I've been saying this. They're dangerous to themselves. To themselves. Look, they crashed. That's the story. Not J.D. Vance at a fundraising event. He's got every right in the world to do that. He should do that. He'll do it again. I don't know if he'll come back to Tennessee. He may not want to. So they're dangerous to themselves and others. Imagine had they ran into you. Now they're trying to figure out how to handle this. So they're getting rid of a lot of their experienced troopers. And that is the story. A lot of their experienced trained troopers that they get rid of before they can retire. And this type thing happens. And we know they lie, so we don't know if we'll get a fair and biased investigation. And I know the colonel, and he's not an honest man. He promotes his buddies, and he's the one mass hiring, and the governor's not an honest man. And I'm an honest person. I have a JD, I have a doctor of jurisprudence. It's not defamation. It's true, and I don't know if they'll tell you the truth about what happened or not. But to America, I also have passed a class, went through several months of training in determining whether people are not under the influence or not. Drug recognition expert. I was a drug recognition expert. I went through higher level training than just in law enforcement. I went to a training where they taught us how to be able to detect other drugs besides alcohol, and even went and did a clinical where we went to tested people in real life and tried to determine what kind of drug they're on, and then drug tests were done so they could see if we were right or not. So extensive training beyond what a normal person, like a medical person, would be able to do in order to protect the roads, and drug recognition expert. So I was also a drug recognition expert, in addition to a specialized traffic accident investigator. Now they don't like what I'm saying. That's why when I run for office, they have a mug shot of me, instead of like these other people, because I got arrested for putting out the truth for running for public office. Now, these inexperienced troopers can't make arrests like me. The death rate on Tennessee roadways went up the next year after they lied about me, 78 more people. So to America, this is my DUI outstanding service, so they say I'm not credible, but numbers say I don't lie. The numbers, the facts say I don't lie. But I tell you what, all America, God is faithful. They're not, government's not faithful. So join me. Unbridled News, the special edition, live news, breaking news. Maryville officer in the hospital, THP investigating. Watch out, America. It may or may not be the truth. They have a history of lying. Tennessee Highway Patrol. That's the story two officers run into each other. One of them did something wrong. Will you get the true story out of THP? I doubt it. I doubt it. So like, share, and comment. This captain right here, Captain Mark Stafford, if it's somebody they want to take care of, then they won't blame the wreck on them. They'll change the facts. His son, Trooper Dwayne Stafford, Trooper of the Year in 2012, did he make more drunk driving arrests than me? Hell no. He was involved in a crash September 28, 2011. Have you ever heard anything about the crash that he was involved in that sent him to this very hospital? No, they covered up for him. They covered it up. Just like they'll cover up that. Here's a wreck where John Pettigo was involved in. This woman was killed. He worked his own wreck where his negligence killed somebody. So that's the story. The story, America, is not J.D. Vance going to a fundraiser. I'd go to a fundraiser. Invite me to a fundraiser. I need to raise funds. If you want to contribute, hit the Square app and contribute to Real News. You won't hear this from anywhere else. The story is THP's and Vice investigations. They're investigating somebody. Two officers couldn't protect themselves and slammed into each other. That's the story, a failure to communicate among inept law enforcement that are dangerous to themselves in the state of Tennessee. Publish that story. I will. I just did. So he worked this wreck with a 16-year-old that was killed, and his negligence is what killed her. And that's who will be investigating that wreck. People that raised the fatality rate, 25%. So the same year that they got rid of me, I was lowering the fatality rate. So it doesn't matter what really happened in that wreck. It doesn't matter what really happened in that wreck. It's the narrative that they want to tell you. Facts bother them, so they leave them out or they add to them. That's the issue, is that THP is the lead investigator, and two officers ran into each other, and it's not mechanical error. I don't believe it. So they even got awards for what I did from the same year they got rid of me. I was good for you. They knew it. They took my awards from me. They get awards. They'll award themselves for their negligence. And they have people that are investigating the wreck that got promoted not by knowledge, not by going to wreck crash investigation schools, several of them, by who paid who to get in the position that they're in to lie for them. That's how the state government is run. Not based on facts and not based on what's true. So if you want to give to Unbridled News, and the real story is, THP's the lead investigator. THP lies. The real story is two officers supposedly trained to protect and serve, can't even protect and serve themselves. The real story is they're already trying to frame it. It's not negligence. It's not mechanical. It's negligence on somebody's part. I don't believe it's a mechanical failure. So hit the square icon, contribute to the news. Charles Van Morgan, Unbridled News America. America, listen. Up close and personal, Charles Van Morgan. I know how these people do. I know how dirty they are. Buy my book, The Former Trooper Charles Van Morgan Story. And I'll tell you the facts of how they lie. The state highway patrol lies. Now, I don't know which one's at fault. Maybe both of them a little bit. But I know they'll lie to you. So $149 for an electronic copy. $200, $199 for a signed hard copy. If you want the real facts. In Russia, they jail their journalists for saying stuff like I'm saying. America, listen, worldwide, spread this message. The real story is malfeasance or negligence on the part of those who are supposed to protect and serve. Not at the bottom. It's not their fault. They shouldn't be put in assignments when they're not ready to. But they get rid of all the advanced level officers that have served for years that know how to protect and serve you in order to fund and build the Tennessee State Consolidated Retirement System in order to fund their robbery of it. That's the real story. Put this out nationwide. Come to Tennessee at your own risk. You'll be arrested falsely by some of their young officers that don't know what they're doing. I knew what I was doing. I didn't arrest people that were sober. I was a drug recognition expert. A lot of officers failed out of that school. So they're getting rid of a lot of young officers. In America, they jail journalists too, just like Russia, and political candidates. So you can look at this yourself. This is THP. She's over the Knoxville district, high level in THP. It's not the officers that wrecked. They shouldn't have been out there doing that. They should have had better trained officers doing that. It's not, the real fault is at the top. She's over this area. Look this up. February the 7th, 2025. She was on comp time, and she's not supposed to be working in uniform. She made that video herself on comp time. She was injured, not capable of working. Getting comp time, not back on duty yet, in uniform. Look she made it herself. The damn fools. And they want to fool you? They better cover up their YouTube videos. Look at the date. Ask Google for the date she officially came back to work and was cleared to work by a medical doctor. Not February the 7th. It was later. Ask Google. Ask Google. So it was a lot later. They have troopers that may be investigating this wreck that don't have a birth certificate. THP may have troopers investigating this wreck that weren't born in the USA. And THP's involved in a wreck with some kind of backstory involved in that. People not even in America investigating a wreck. They have troopers that don't have a birth certificate in the United States of America. That's not defamation. That's the truth. So that may be another backstory. I don't know. Something nefarious going on? More than what we know of? Quite possibly. Maybe. I don't know. But the wreck happened. The wreck happened here on East Lamar Alexander Highway at Merritt Road. Here's the wreck. You see a trooper car up against the motorcade. I pray for the officer, and I pray for the officer's family. Charles Van Morgan Unbridled News. If you contribute, we can go to more locations and put out truth about stuff. America, don't trust THP's investigation. They lie. Charles Van Morgan, Unbridled News. Thank y'all for coming. Please contribute to the show, and we'll put out more truthful news. Until next time, thank you. God loves you, and I do too.